Back to the NBA here on Get Up, where Draymond Green's poor play in the finals has been the subject of much conversation. In Game 4, he sat for a 4-minute stretch during the fourth quarter, benched by Steve Kerr, and that changed the entire outlook for the Warriors. When Draymond was subbed out at the halfway point of the fourth quarter, the Warriors won an 11-3 run against the Celtics in Game 4. Golden State had entered the pivotal run, trailing by 5, then took a 3-point lead under the 4-minute mark, and then Kerr went back to Draymond the final 3 minutes of that game. Of course, the big storyline is the Warriors winning that game to even up the series. It's bring back JJ as well as Vince and Amari and our man, Marcus Spears, who's more passionate about basketball than football. We'll get Marcus in a moment here. But I do want to start, and this is a big theme here. If we have a close game, guys, specifically moving forward the rest of the series and sitting Draymond during the fourth quarter here, Vince, did Steve Kerr find a blueprint here moving forward the rest of the series?
So, guys, this frustrates me a lot because I don't see anything here. I think it's the right decision, and it's an in-game decision by Steve Kerr, and that just shows the greatness of Steve Kerr, understanding, yeah, he is my star. He has championships, but at this moment, we need scoring. We need more scoring. He wasn't hitting shots. He's not aggressive. He's not looking at the rim. He's trying to make the right plays, but they need to see the ball go in from that position. So you put guys in who can knock down shots or who are making shots at that time, and then you bring them back if need be. And I think he learned something from the Dallas series, Game 4, if I'm not mistaken, when the second unit played great, and then once they got back in it, he did the mass subbing of putting his starters back in, and then they lost the lead again instead of maybe just trickling in starters with your subs. So I think he learned something, and at that moment, it was the right decision to bring in some scoring instead of Draymond at that moment. And he put him back in. So what's the problem?
Exactly. And JJ, is this the right thing to go moving forward here if we're in the final 7-8 minutes of a game and it's a 5-point game and the Warriors need to find offensive firepower?
Well, I agree with Vince to an extent because I do think this is a game-to-game decision. The coach has one agenda, and that's trying to put your team in a position to win a basketball game, and I thought that decision was the right decision in Game 4. But just to put a little context on this, of all the lineups in this series for either team, the Warriors' regular starting 5 with Kevon Looney and Draymond Green had the best plus-minus in this series. Some of Draymond's struggles to me are because of what we talked about earlier, and that is that the Celtics are not blitzing. And he is so good getting downhill on that blitz pass, that little short roll. He gets 4-on-3. He's able to pick defenses apart, and he just hasn't had those opportunities in this series. And he's done a decent job of trying to create pace when he gets a defensive rebound or when he gets a stop. But in the half court, he has really struggled. And so I do think it is a game-to-game decision about what you need at that moment going down the stretch. But some of this, of course, is how the Celtics are guarding the Warriors.
Amari, how much is this about confidence? Because there were some moments in the second half of Game 4 where I saw Draymond have an easy look under the bucket and then he passes out. And it gave me shades of Ben Simmons here, that his confidence is so low, he doesn't want to miss and he needs to funnel the basketball out. How much is this about confidence?
I think his confidence there, but I think the most part with Draymond is that he looks to facilitate so much to where he doesn't look to score. Yeah. And so scoring right now is kind of out of the question for him. And I feel like, if he's I think it was a great decision by Steve Kerr by also making that decision by bringing him off the bench or benching him during that stretch, because you have to make decisions in the playoffs. The playoffs are made of runs and decisions, and you have to make the right decision, I think. But Draymond Green is not an offensive player. Yeah, he's never was an offensive player. So I feel like if you're able to somewhat provide some scoring, it can help. But this is going to be the ideal going forward with Draymond. If he can't score in the fourth quarter, he's going to go to the bench.
Marcus, was this the difference in the series? This decision by Steve Kerr to bench Draymond in that 4-minute stretch?
It could be. It could be something we talk about if the Golden State Warriors get this done. And listening to these guys and understanding the game in my own right, at times in a basketball game throughout the course of it, your effectiveness is dictated by the pace and how the game is playing out. And that's really what this boils down to. Every coach has a decision to make about a particular player when he lacks a skill set that's needed in certain times in a particular game. That's Draymond. To the point that these guys just made. If you need a facilitator, a defender, somebody to scramble, get on the floor, it's time for Draymond to be in the game. If you need 5 guys in the basketball game that can create a shot or get a bucket or knock down an open look, that ain't the time to have Draymond in the game. I think it's that in its simplest form. We all respect Draymond Green. We all understand what Draymond Green means to the Golden State Warriors. But when it comes to putting the ball in the cup, and you have to do that at a very high level against the Boston Celtics good defensive team outside of stopping Steph, you got to figure out a way to manufacture points. And Draymond ain't going to do that for you just knocking shots down.
Vince,